My 4-year-old granddaughter snuggled into my wife's neck at Sunday dinner and said, "Grandma, you smell just like Dr. Brennan's office." I should start at the beginning. My name is Daniel Fletcher. I'm 55 years old, and until recently, I was the mayor of Bellevue, Oregon. Population 87,000. A college town where everyone knows your name, your business, and your failures. But that Sunday in January, I was still the mayor. Still the guy who'd spent 10 years building a reputation on integrity. Still the family man who'd entered politics because I wanted my granddaughter, that same 4-year-old Lily, to grow up in a town led by people who told the truth. That morning, my campaign manager walked into my office at City Hall with a box. I was reviewing photos for the re-election campaign. The album was spread across my desk, dark blue leather, embossed with Fletcher for Mayor 2023. It smelled like the cedar paneling in my office, that scent I'd always associated with accomplishment. The pages crinkled when I turned them. Each photo was 8 by 10, professional quality. There was Rachel holding Lily, both of them laughing. The caption below read, "Family First." Rachel, my wife of 28 years, Dean of Students at Oregon State University's Bellevue campus, the woman I'd met in college, married at 27, built a life with. Jenkins set the box down on my desk. "5,000, he said, fresh from the printer. I opened the box. Campaign buttons. 3 inches across, metal, red and white and blue. Fletcher Family Values, Re-elect Mayor, Dan, 2025. The buttons made a clicking, rattling sound as I picked one up. Cool metal, smooth front, my family photo in the center, Rachel, me, our kids, and Lily. Rachel's face was prominent, smiling, perfect. Jenkins grinned. "These are going to every door in Bellevue. The Family Values angle pulls through the roof." I held the button. It weighed about an ounce. Not much, but multiply that by 5,000 and you're carrying something heavy. "When do they go out?" I asked. "Next week, right before you announce the re-election campaign officially." I stared at Rachel's face on that button. Something felt wrong. I'd felt it for months. Her distance, her late nights at the university, the way she'd stopped asking about my day. But I'd ignored it. I had a city to run, a development project to push through, an election to win, 5,000 buttons, all with her face on them. Sunday dinner at our house, a tradition Rachel insisted on keeping. Our daughter Emma was there, 28, recently divorced, living in my guest house with Lily. Emma's a social worker for Child Protective Services. Sees the worst of family dysfunction every day. Our son Jacob had flown in from Portland, 32, runs a tech startup, always busy. But he came home when I asked, said he needed to talk about something. My mother was there too, Eleanor Fletcher. Everyone calls her Ellie. 79 years old, retired school librarian, church secretary for 40 years. The matriarch who'd taught me everything about public service, about duty, about protecting the family name. Lily was coloring at the kids' table, construction paper and crayons. That waxy Crayola smell filled the room. She'd drawn a picture, Grandpa Dan plus Grandma Rachel plus me, in her careful 4-year-old handwriting. The L in Lily was backwards. Rachel was pouring wine. She moved through the room like she was hosting a faculty event, graceful, composed, saying the right things to everyone. She stopped by Lily's chair. Lily looked up, reaching for her. Rachel bent down. Lily wrapped her arms around Rachel's neck, the way kids do when they feel safe. Then Lily said it. "Grandma, you smell just like Dr. Brennan's office." The room went quiet. Lily kept talking, oblivious. "You know, Mommy's boss's boss. He has that smell, Grandpa. They have the same smell." I watched Emma's face go white. Rachel straightened up too fast. "Lily, honey, I don't..." Emma's voice cut through, slow, careful. "Mom, why would you smell like the provost?" "I don't know what she's talking about." Rachel's smile was tight. "Kids say the strangest things." But Emma was standing now. "Dr. Nathan Brennan, he's your direct supervisor. Why would you smell like his office, Mom?" My mother's voice from across the table. "Emma, don't be dramatic. Rachel's the dean of students. Of course she meets with the provost." I looked at Rachel, really looked at her. She was wearing my grandmother's necklace, the one I'd given her at our wedding. But there was something else. Something in her eyes, not guilt, defiance. "Rachel." My voice came out steady. Mayor voice, the voice I used in council meetings. "Do you want to tell me something?" She looked at me for a long moment. Then she set down the wine bottle. "Not here," she said. "Not in front of the kids." "The kids?" Emma's voice cracked. "I'm 28, Mom. I'm standing right here." But Rachel was already walking toward the bedroom. I followed her. The retreat itinerary was in her purse. I wasn't looking for it. I was looking for my garage door opener. She'd borrowed my car keys earlier, but when I opened her purse, there it was. 8 pages, spiral bound. Oregon State green and orange colors. Leadership Retreat 2023, Building Tomorrow Together. November, 14 months ago. The pages had that waxy, glossy feel, like it cost extra to print. When I flipped through it, the spiral binding made this metallic zipping sound. It smelled like her, Rachel's perfume, faint but unmistakable. There was a bent corner where she'd folded it. I smoothed it out. Page 4, room assignments. Room 207, Dr. Nathan Brennan, Provost. Room 208, Dr. Rachel Fletcher, Dean of Students. Note, connecting door for administrative convenience. I stared at those words. Connecting door. Administrative convenience. My hands were shaking. I heard a knock on the door. Dr. Simone Torres, psychology professor at the university. She's 44, been teaching there for 15 years. She'd called me that morning, said she needed to talk. I'd invited her to stop by after dinner. I opened the door. She was holding a trifold program, glossy paper. It made a slick sliding sound when she handed it to me. "I'm sorry, Daniel," she said. "I should have said something sooner. It was a faculty awards program. OSU Faculty Excellence Awards 2024. The pages were creased from being folded and unfolded many times. There was a wine stain on one corner, red wine from the reception. In the margin, in purple ink, Simone had written notes. She'd circled a photo of Rachel and Nathan standing together. Close. Too close. Her note read, "Classic affair indicators. Body language, proxemics, micro-expressions, professional concern." "I'm a psychologist," Simone said quietly. "I notice things. At the faculty event last month, I watched them. The way they looked at each other. The way they touched, just small things, nothing obvious. But it was there." I couldn't speak. She pointed to the program. I didn't want to believe it either, but then I saw them leaving together. Twice, and I thought, you should know. Before the election, before it's too late. I looked at the itinerary in my hand, then at the program, 2 pieces of paper, both telling me the same thing. "Thank you," I managed to say. After she left, I sat in my office at home, the same office where I'd reviewed those campaign photos, where I'd held that button with Rachel's face on it. I'd been writing a speech. State of Bellevue address. 47 pages in my handwriting, blue ink, red pen edits. There was a coffee stain on page 12. The papers curled from humidity. When I flipped through them, the staple squeaked. The speech was about integrity, about public service, about leading with values. I'd titled the section I was working on, Integrity in Public Service, the Foundation of Trust. The bitter irony hit me like a punch. I confronted her in our bedroom. She was folding laundry, calm, composed, like nothing had happened. "I found the itinerary," I said, "from the leadership retreat 14 months ago." She didn't stop folding. "So?" "Room 207 and 208, connecting door. Daniel, that was a retreat for administrators. Of course our rooms were near each other. Simone Torres brought me the faculty awards program. She's a psychologist. She noticed things." Rachel set down the shirt she was holding, looked at me. "Simone needs to mind her own business. Is it true?" Silence. "Rachel, is it true?" She took a breath. "Yes." The word hung in the air. "How long?" 14 months since the retreat. Is it still?" "Yes." I sat down on the bed. The room was spinning. "Why?" I asked. She sat down across from me. "Do you remember the last time you asked me about my day? The last time we had a conversation that wasn't about your campaign or your city council meetings or your development project? I've been Rachel Fletcher, the mayor's wife, for 10 years. Before that, I was Rachel Fletcher, the councilman's wife. I'm 53 years old, Daniel. I spent my 20s and 30s building my career. Then you ran for office, and I became an accessory. You're the dean of students. And Nathan sees me as more than that. He sees me as an equal, an intellectual, someone worth listening to. I stared at her. You're having an affair with your supervisor. He's not my supervisor in practice. We're colleagues. He's the provost. You report to him. Daniel, you're making this about work hierarchy when it's about the fact that you and I haven't had a real marriage in years. I stood up. Don't make this about me. You had an affair for 14 months with your boss. She stood too. The kids are grown, Daniel. They have their own lives now. Emma's 28. Jacob's 32. Why does our marriage matter to them? There it was. The justification. The kids are grown, I repeated. Emma is living in our guest house because her husband cheated on her. She's processing her own divorce. And you're telling me our marriage doesn't matter to her? She's an adult. She'll understand. Will she? Rachel picked up another shirt, started folding again. I'm not having this conversation with you right now. You have an election to worry about. Let's deal with this after. After? Rachel, we can't. My mother's voice from the doorway. Rachel's right. I turned. Ellie was standing there. I don't know how long she'd been listening. Mom, this isn't Daniel. She walked into the room. The kids are grown. Emma is 28. Jacob is 32. They don't need you to stay married for their sake. You're defending her? I'm protecting this family. Do you know what will happen if this gets out during an election? You'll lose everything you've worked for. I've worked for integrity, Mom. That's what I've worked for. And you can keep your integrity. Rachel made a mistake. She'll end it. You'll stay together until after the election. Then you can deal with this privately. I looked at my mother, then at my wife. They were standing together now, a unified front. What your father would want, my mother said quietly, is for you to protect the family. What would your father do, Daniel? He'd keep this quiet. He'd think about the legacy, the family name. My father, Judge George Fletcher, dead 8 years now. The man who'd taught me everything about duty and honor. I opened my mouth to respond. That's when Emma walked in. She'd been standing in the hallway. I could see it on her face. She'd heard everything. Mom, Emma whispered, you had an affair? Rachel turned pale. Emma, honey, for 14 months? Emma, you're grown. You'll understand someday. I'm grown, Emma's voice rose. I'm your daughter. I don't stop being your daughter because I'm 28. Emma, you just said it. You said, the kids are grown. I'm standing right here. I'm the grown kid you keep talking about like I don't exist. Emma's breathing was ragged. Her hands were shaking. And Grandma. She turned to Ellie. You're defending this? Emma, you need to calm down. My husband cheated on me 6 months ago. 6 months. I cried to Mom about it. I asked her how you stay faithful, how you keep promises. She held me. She told me some people just don't have integrity. Emma's voice broke. She told me that while she was sleeping with her boss. I moved toward Emma. Sweetheart, but Emma was backing away. No, you don't get to comfort me. You were going to keep this quiet for the election? Emma, I just found out, but you were thinking about it. I saw your face. You were calculating. She looked at all three of us, her mother, her grandmother, her father. I spent today removing a 4-year-old from her home because her parents couldn't stop lying to each other. I write reports about family dysfunction. I testify in court about what healthy families look like. Her knees buckled. I caught her before she hit the floor. Emma! She was hyperventilating, sobbing. I held her, lowering her gently to the carpet. Call 911, I shouted. Rachel just stood there, frozen. My mother moved first, pulling out her phone. I held Emma while she cried. Her whole body was shaking. Lily appeared in the doorway, holding her crumpled drawing. The stick figures, Grandpa Dan, Grandma Rachel, and me, now wrinkled in her small fist. Mommy? Lily's voice was tiny. Why is Mommy crying? Jacob appeared behind Lily, scooping her up. It's okay, Sweet Pea. Let's go read a book. The paramedics arrived within 8 minutes. They checked Emma's vitals, asked questions. Panic attack, they said. They wanted to take her to the hospital for observation. Emma nodded weakly. Let them help her onto the gurney. As they wheeled her out, she looked back at Rachel. You did this, she whispered. You did this to us. In the living room, those boxes of campaign buttons sat unopened on the coffee table, 5,000 of them, Rachel's face smiling from everyone, all with her face on them. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and fear. Emma was in the bed, hooked up to monitors, beeping, steady rhythm. Jacob sat in the chair next to her, holding her hand. I stood by the window. It was 2 a.m. Outside, Bellevue was dark and quiet. My town. The town that had elected me because I promised them honesty. Emma's eyes were open now, staring at the ceiling. "Daddy," she said quietly, "I'm sorry I scared everyone. You have nothing to apologize for." My supervisor called. She heard. Someone told her I had a breakdown. She's questioning whether I'm fit to continue working cases. I turned from the window. What? It's standard procedure. If a CPS worker has a mental health crisis, they review your caseload. Make sure you're stable enough to make decisions about other people's families. The bitter irony wasn't lost on me. Jacob spoke up. "That's bullshit, Em. You're the best social worker they have. I testify in court about what healthy families look like, Jake. I write reports about parents who damage their kids. And my mother," her voice cracked, "my mother damaged me at 28. You don't stop being someone's child when you turn 18. She turned to look at me. "The kids are not grown, Dad. We're still her kids. We still need our parents to have integrity." On the bedside table, Lily's drawing sat crumpled. Emma had been clutching it when she collapsed. The paper was torn slightly now. The waxy crayon smell was stronger. Emma's body heat had intensified it. The stick figures were barely visible through the wrinkles. Jacob leaned forward. "I pulled some records, Dad. I need to show you something." "What records?" "University parking passes. It's public information. Open records request. Took me an hour." He pulled out his laptop. Then he reached into his bag and pulled out a stack of papers. Computer paper, the old kind with green and white stripes and perforated edges. He tore off the edges with that distinctive ripping sound. 89 pages. "I printed them," Jacob said, "because you need to see this in hard copy. You need to feel it." He was right. When he handed me the stack, it was heavy, substantial. The pages folded accordion style. When I flipped through them, they sounded like shuffling cards. The ink smelled chemical, fresh from the printer. Every page was a date, a time, a license plate number, Rachel's car, Oregon plates, BAV 2933. Location, OSU Provost Parking Garage. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. for 14 months. Jacob pulled out a highlighter, yellow, that chemical smell, and started marking pages. November 2023, that's when the retreat was. Look at the pattern starting here. Week after week, yellow highlight. Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday. Now look at this. He opened his laptop, pulled up my public calendar, the one posted on the city website, because transparency matters in government. Every Tuesday at 6 p.m., city council meeting. Every Thursday at 6:30 p.m., development committee. "She knew exactly when you'd be occupied," Jacob said flatly. I stared at the pages. The math didn't lie. It never does. Emma was crying again. Quiet tears. She planned it. She made sure you'd never catch her. I wanted to say something comforting, but what could I say? The evidence was in my hands. 89 pages of it. If you've ever been the grown kid everyone assumed could handle it, if you've had someone tell you you're too old to be hurt by your parents' choices, just know you're not alone. Emma needed to hear she wasn't alone. Maybe you do too. Emma stared at the hospital ceiling. Jacob squeezed her hand, and I realized my daughter was right. Being 28 didn't make this hurt less. Being grown just meant she could see the betrayal more clearly. The security chief called me the next morning. Martinez, 42 years old, former military, been with the city for 15 years. Good man, hates bringing bad news. "Mr. Mayor," he said on the phone, "I need you to come to City Hall, security office. There's something you need to see. I'd rather not discuss it over the phone." "When?" "Now, if possible, sir." I drove to City Hall. The building was empty. It was Sunday morning. My footsteps echoed in the marble hallway. Martinez was waiting in the security office. He looked like he hadn't slept. On his desk, a black USB drive in a clear plastic case. Someone had labeled it with permanent marker, City Hall Camera 3, Des 2024, Jan 2025. The plastic case clicked when he opened it. He plugged the USB drive into his computer. It beeped once, that soft electronic sound announcing that truth was about to display itself on screen. Camera 3 covers the underground parking garage, Martinez said. It's where city employees and visitors park when there are evening meetings. He pulled up the footage. Date stamp in the corner, December 14th, 2024, 7:15 p.m. Rachel's car pulled into the garage. She got out, looked around, then another car pulled in, silver Lexus. A man got out, tall, maybe early 50s, graying hair. I'd seen him at faculty events, Dr. Nathan Brennan, the provost. They met between the cars. He pulled her close. She put her arms around his neck. They kissed. Martinez fast-forwarded. There's 3 instances total, December 14th, December 21st, and January 14th. He pulled up January 14th. Same garage, same cars, same kiss. The timestamp read 7:43 p.m. I felt something cold settle in my chest. What was happening that night? Martinez asked quietly. January 14th, 7:43 p.m. I knew exactly what was happening. City council vote, I said. University funding, $3.2 million for the new technology building. Martinez nodded slowly. Dr. Brennan is the provost. Your wife is the dean. They were together in City Hall property during the vote that would allocate funding to the university where they both work. Conflict of interest, I said. Mr. Mayor, I'm not a lawyer, but you might want to call the city attorney, because if the press gets hold of this, if anyone questions whether that vote was compromised. I cast the deciding vote, I said. It was 4-3. I voted yes. The USB drive sat on the desk. Cool, smooth plastic and metal. That faint electrical smell. Evidence. Not just of an affair. Of potential corruption. Of my wife using my office, literally City Hall property, to conduct a relationship with someone who benefited from my votes. Thank you, Martinez, I managed to say. I'm sorry, sir. For what it's worth, I don't think you knew, but I have to document this. It's my job. I understand. I took the USB drive. The plastic case clicked shut in my hand. The night I voted to fund the university. She was with him. During the vote, Tuesday night, city council meeting. Open to the public, broadcast live on KBRV, our local station. 200 people in attendance. I sat at the front with the other 6 council members. Patricia Hayes sat 3 seats down from me. 47 years old, city councilor for 6 years. My opponent in the upcoming mayoral race. She was wearing one of my campaign buttons. Fletcher Family Values, Re-elect Mayor Dan 2025. The button gleamed under the lights, that cool metal, that clicking pin. She'd pinned it prominently on her jacket. She caught me looking at it, smiled. During the public comment period, she stood up. Mayor Fletcher, she said, I'm wearing your campaign button tonight because I have a question about family values. My stomach dropped. I've been hearing some concerning rumors about conflicts of interest, about votes that may have been compromised by personal relationships. The room got very quiet. I'm not making accusations, Patricia continued, her voice honey-sweet. I'm simply saying that if we're going to run on a platform of family values and integrity, we need to make sure our own houses are in order. Don't you agree, Mayor? Every camera in the room turned toward me. Councilor Hayes, I said carefully, if you have specific concerns about any vote, you're welcome to file a formal inquiry with the city attorney. Oh, I will, she said. I just wanted to give you advance notice, in the spirit of transparency. She sat down, still wearing my button. Fletcher Family Values. After the meeting, I had to give my prepared speech, the State of Bellevue address, annual tradition. I'd been writing it for weeks, 47 pages, that section on integrity. I stood at the podium. Rachel was sitting in the front row. She'd come. Of course she'd come. She always attended my speeches, the supportive wife. Nathan Brennan was standing in the back. I saw him when I looked up. He was watching Rachel, not me. 200 people in that room. Cameras broadcasting live to thousands more. My speech sat in front of me, pages curling from humidity. That coffee stain on page 12. I started reading. Good evening, Bellevue. Tonight I want to talk to you about the foundation of good government, about integrity, about the trust you place in your elected officials. My voice sounded hollow in my own ears. When you elected me, you elected someone who promised to lead with transparency, with honesty, with... I reached the part about integrity and public service. My voice cracked. I looked at Rachel. She was staring at me, her face blank. I looked at Nathan. He was still watching Rachel. I looked at the 200 people watching me fall apart on live television. "Excuse me," I said. "I apologize. I need a moment." I gripped the podium, breathed. The room was silent, waiting. I forced myself to continue, but the words felt like broken glass in my throat. Every sentence about honesty and values and integrity, all of it ashes. When I finished, the applause was polite, sparse. Patricia Hayes was smiling. 200 people watching me fall apart. My mother invited us to dinner, Friday night. Family unity dinner, she called it. Rachel would be there. Emma refused to come. Jacob said he'd go to keep an eye on things. I went because I was too exhausted to fight. Ellie's house, the same house I grew up in. She'd set the table with her good china. The plates were Lenox, eternal pattern, white with platinum trim and delicate dove motif. She'd received them as a wedding gift 57 years ago. Rachel arrived first. She and my mother were in the kitchen when Jacob and I walked in. I heard my mother's voice. "You're doing the right thing, Rachel. This will blow over." Then they came out, both smiling. Unified front. We sat down to eat. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Halfway through dinner, my mother stood up. She went to her bedroom and came back with a small velvet box. "Rachel," she said, "I want you to have this." She opened the box. My grandmother's wedding ring, simple gold band, worn thin from 50 years of wear, engraved inside, EBF plus GJF 1968. Eleanor and George, my grandparents. "This ring represents 50 years of marriage," my mother said. 50 years of staying together through everything, through disagreements and hardships and mistakes. She took Rachel's hand. "Webb women wear this ring with pride. It's a symbol of commitment, of family." She slipped it onto Rachel's finger. It fit loosely. Rachel was thinner than my grandmother had been. The ring spun around when Rachel moved her hand. I stared at that ring. The gold was so thin now, barely there. If you dropped it on the table, it would make this tiny pinging sound, delicate, fragile, like something precious about to break. "Mom," I said, "you can't." "Your father would want this," Ellie said firmly. "He understood what marriage means, what commitment means. What would your father do, Daniel? He'd want you to protect the family. He'd want you to think about the legacy." My father, Judge George Fletcher, the man who'd taught me about honor, about duty. "Dad would want me to protect the family?" I repeated. "Yes, he understood that sometimes you have to overlook things for the greater good." Jacob was watching this unfold, his face carefully neutral. "Did Dad overlook things?" I asked. My mother's expression flickered, just for a second. "Your father was a wise man," she said. "He knew that marriage requires discretion." Something in her tone bothered me. Discretion about what? "Daniel, this isn't the time." "What did Dad overlook, Mom?" She pressed her lips together. "We all make sacrifices in marriage. What sacrifices did Dad make? Daniel? Or what sacrifices did you make?" Silence. Jacob leaned forward. "Grandma, are you saying Grandpa?" "I'm saying," Ellie interrupted, her voice sharp, "that your grandfather understood that a marriage is bigger than one person's feelings. It's about family, legacy, the name we carry." She looked at Rachel, then at me. "The kids are grown, Daniel. They don't need you to stay married, but they need you to not destroy everything over this. Emma is 28. Jacob is 32. They have their own lives." "I'm sitting right here," Jacob said quietly, "and I'm not okay with this." Ellie ignored him. She took out her father's pocket watch, my grandfather's watch. She'd kept it on the mantel since he died. 1940s Elgin, gold, engraved Judge George Fletcher, 1948. It had this distinct tick-tock sound, louder than modern watches. When she set it on the table, it made a heavy thunk. "Your father carried this every day of his life," she said. "He was a judge. He understood justice, but he also understood that some things are more important than being right, like family, like loyalty. She pushed the watch toward me. "What would your father do?" she asked again. I picked up the watch, heavy, cool gold in my palm, that loud ticking, tick-tock, tick-tock, like a heartbeat. I'd always loved this watch. Dad used to let me hold it when I was a kid. He'd taught me to read the Roman numerals on the face. I'd inherited his sense of duty, his commitment to public service. But something bothered me, something about the way my mother was using his memory. "I'd like to take this," I said, "to remember Dad while I think about what to do." My mother hesitated, then nodded. "Of course." I slipped the watch into my pocket. Rachel was still wearing my grandmother's ring. She raised her wine glass in a small toast to my mother. "Thank you, Ellie, for understanding. Your father would want you to protect the family." I couldn't sleep that night. 2 a.m., I was in my office at City Hall. I'd let myself in with my key. The building was empty, silent except for the hum of the heating system. I sat at my desk with my grandfather's watch, still ticking. That loud, steady rhythm. I opened the case to look at the mechanism inside, and I found the letter. It was tucked into a hidden compartment in the back of the watch case. An unsealed envelope, thin paper, yellowed with age, my father's handwriting. Dated the day he died, 8 years ago. My hands were shaking as I unfolded it. "Daniel, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Your mother doesn't know I left this letter. She'll be angry if she finds it. But I need you to know the truth. I made mistakes in my marriage. I had a relationship, a long one, with someone who wasn't your mother. It lasted 20 years. Your mother knew. She chose to stay, to protect the family name, the judge's reputation. I regret it every single day. Not the staying married, we made that work, but the lying, the pretending, the letting your mother build her life around protecting my secrets. I'm telling you this because you're going to face hard choices in your life, Daniel. Choices between what looks good and what is good, between image and integrity. Promise me something. Promise me you'll never choose image over integrity. Truth is the only protection that matters. Truth is the only legacy worth leaving. Lies destroy more than they protect. I know. I lived it. Be better than I was. Be better than this family has been. I love you. Dad. I read it 3 times. Then I looked at the watch again. The engraving. Judge George Fletcher, 1948. That was the year he graduated from law school, the year he married my mother. But my father had lied for 20 years, and my mother had known. She'd spent 40 years protecting his secrets, building her life around the lie, and now she was asking me to do the same thing. What would your father do? My father would regret it. That's what he'd do. He'd regret it for the rest of his life. But he'd also want me to learn from his mistake. I sat alone in my office, holding my father's letter. The watch ticked in my hand, loud, relentless. Outside my window, Bellevue was dark and quiet. 52,000 people sleeping, trusting me to lead them. My phone buzzed. Jacob found something else. Nathan's university emails. Someone leaked them. You need to see this. I called him. What is it? Messages between him and Rachel, going back 14 months, sent during work hours, using university email accounts. Daniel, this is bad. Ethics violations. She's his subordinate. There are rules about this. Send them to me. Are you sure? They're detailed. Send them. I hung up, stared at my father's letter. Promise me you'll never choose image over integrity. If you were in my position, what would you do? Stay silent, keep your career, protect your mother's wishes, or tell the truth? Lose everything, honor your father's actual legacy? There's no easy answer here. I sat alone in my office at 2 a.m. My father's letter in one hand, his watch in the other, and I had to decide. I called a family meeting, Sunday morning. Just Emma, Jacob, and me. No Rachel, no Ellie. We met at my house, the guest house where Emma was staying. Lily was with Rachel's sister for the day. Emma looked better, stronger. She'd been in therapy twice this week. Her supervisor had cleared her to return to work, said her breakdown was understandable given the circumstances. I'm going to hold a press conference, I said. This week, I'm going to withdraw from the mayoral race. Emma nodded slowly. Good. Jacob leaned forward. Are you sure? Patricia Hayes will win. She's not exactly a reformer. I can't run on family values while living a lie, I said. I can't stand in front of 52,000 people and ask them to trust me when I'm covering up a conflict of interest. What about the development project? Jacob asked. You've been working on that for 3 years. If you lose the election, then I lose it, but I'll finish my term with integrity. That's all I can control. Emma was crying, but not the desperate tears from before. These were different. Relief, maybe. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for choosing truth. I showed them my father's letter. Let them read it. Jacob sat back when he finished. So, Grandma, she's been protecting lies her whole life. Yes. And now she's asking you to do the same thing. Yes. Emma touched the letter gently. What would your father do? He'd tell the truth. That's what he's saying here. That's what I'm going to do. My campaign manager called that afternoon. I told him to schedule the press conference for Tuesday. City Hall, 10 a.m. He asked what I was going to say. The truth, I said. There was a long silence on the phone. Dan, he said finally, you'll lose everything. The election, your reputation, maybe your marriage. I already lost my marriage, and my reputation is worth nothing if it's built on lies. Your mother called me. She said, I know what she said. I'm doing this anyway. I hung up. Rachel came by that evening. She'd heard about the press conference from my campaign manager. Daniel, you can't do this, she said. Think about what you're throwing away. I'm not throwing it away. You already did that. This will destroy me, my career, my reputation. You destroyed it yourself when you had an affair with your supervisor. She stood in my doorway, still wearing my grandmother's ring. It caught the light, thin gold, barely there. Please, she said, for the kids, don't do this to them. The kids are grown, I said. Remember? That's what you told me. That's what my mother told me. They're grown, which means they're old enough to handle the truth. Daniel, I'm filing for divorce. My lawyer will contact you this week. She stared at me. You're really going to do this? Yes. Your mother will never forgive you. I know. She left. The ring was still on her finger. I told my campaign manager to schedule the press conference. Tuesday morning, City Hall. The press room was packed. 200 people, media, city employees, residents. KBRV had cameras set up. The local newspaper. Even some regional outlets had driven up from Portland and Eugene. Patricia Hayes was there, sitting in the third row, not wearing my campaign button this time. She looked curious, predatory almost. Emma and Lily sat in the front row. Jacob stood against the wall. My mother wasn't there. I hadn't invited her. I walked to the podium. The prepared statement was in my hands, typed pages, my hands shaking slightly. Not the speech draft I'd torn apart. Something new, something honest. The room fell silent. I looked at Lily, 4 years old, holding a new drawing she'd made. This one showed her and Emma, just the two of them. No grandma. The crayon smelled the same, that Crayola waxy scent. But the picture was different. I began. Good morning. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to make a statement, and then I'll take questions. I took a breath. 2 weeks ago, I discovered that my wife of 28 years has been having an affair with her supervisor at Oregon State University for the past 14 months. Dr. Nathan Brennan, the university provost, and my wife, Dr. Rachel Fletcher, the dean of students, have been in a relationship that violates university ethics policies and creates a conflict of interest that affects my position as mayor. Cameras flashed. Phones came out. People leaned forward. In January of this year, I cast the deciding vote to allocate $3.2 million in city funding to the university. I did not know at the time about the relationship. However, security footage from City Hall shows that on the night of that vote, my wife and Dr. Brennan were together on city property. This creates the appearance of impropriety, even though I was unaware of the relationship. I paused. My voice was starting to shake. I ran for mayor 10 years ago because I wanted my granddaughter, I gestured to Lily, to grow up in a town led by people who tell the truth. I campaigned on family values, on integrity, on transparency. My voice broke. I gripped the podium. I can't wear this button. I touched the campaign button on my jacket. And lie to you. I can't stand here and ask you to trust me while I'm covering up a conflict of interest. I can't teach my granddaughter about honesty while living a lie. Tears were running down my face now. I didn't wipe them away. So, I'm withdrawing from the mayoral race, effective immediately. I'll serve out the remainder of my term, and then I'll step down. I'm also filing for divorce and recusing myself from any future votes that involve the university." I looked at the crowd, 200 people watching me cry on live television. I'm not withdrawing because I'm a quitter. I'm withdrawing because integrity matters more than winning. Because my granddaughter is watching. Because 52,000 people trusted me, and they deserve the truth, even when it costs me everything. I looked at Lily again. She was holding Emma's hand. "I'm sorry I let you down, but I won't compound that failure by continuing to deceive you. Thank you." The room erupted. Questions shouted from every direction. Cameras everywhere. I stepped away from the podium, walked to Emma and Lily. Emma stood up, hugged me. She was crying too. "I'm proud of you, Daddy," she whispered. Lily held up her drawing. "Mommy said you're brave, Grandpa." I knelt down, looked at her drawing, just her and Emma. The stick figures were more confident this time, the colors brighter. She'd signed it, Lily age 412, with the L still backwards. "Thank you, Sweet Pea," I said. I was crying on live television, the mayor of Bellevue falling apart in front of everyone. But I felt lighter than I had in weeks. The consequences came swiftly. The university launched an ethics investigation. Within 2 weeks, they'd reviewed the emails Jacob had found. Romantic messages sent during work hours, using university accounts. Between a supervisor and his subordinate, the university board held a closed-door meeting. Then they announced their decision. Dr. Nathan Brennan was terminated, effective immediately. His candidacy for university president was withdrawn. Dr. Rachel Fletcher was given the option to resign or face termination hearings. She resigned. She lost her position, her university housing, her reputation in academic circles. She moved out of our house, found an apartment in town, started looking for work at other universities. But the scandal followed her. No one wanted to hire a dean who'd had an affair with her provost. My mother wrote me a letter. I found it in my mailbox a week after the press conference. "Daniel, you have destroyed this family. Everything your father and I built. The Fletcher name meant something in this town. Now it's ruined. I will never forgive you for what you've done to Rachel, to your children, to me. You chose strangers over your own family. I'm ashamed to call you my son. Mother." I read it once, then I put it in a drawer. A week later, she wrote again. This letter was different. "Daniel, I've been thinking about what you said, about what your father wrote. I didn't know he'd left you that letter. I've been looking for it for 8 years. I was afraid of what it said. I was wrong about everything, about protecting the lie, about asking you to do what I did. Your father regretted it. I know he did. And I regret spending 40 years protecting his secrets instead of demanding truth. I did the same thing to you. I asked you to protect Rachel's secrets, to prioritize image over integrity, just like I did with your father. Emma won't speak to me. She's right not to. I told her she was grown and didn't need her mother to have integrity. I was wrong. Being grown doesn't mean you stop needing your parents to be honest. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I wanted you to know that you were right. Your father would be proud of you. I'm proud of you too, even though I don't deserve to say it. Mom, I read that letter 3 times. Then I called her. I got your letter, I said. Daniel, her voice was thick. She'd been crying. I forgive you, I said. For me, not for you, but I forgive you. Thank you, she whispered. But Mom, you need to apologize to Emma, in person. She needs to hear it. I know, I will. I've been trying to work up the courage. Try harder. I will, I promise. We hung up. I put both letters in my desk drawer, next to my father's letter, next to the pocket watch that had held his truth for 8 years. 6 weeks after the press conference, the city council held a vote on the development project. The $28 million renovation of downtown Bellevue, my legacy project. The thing I'd spent 3 years fighting for. I'd recused myself from the vote. I sat in the audience with Emma and Jacob, watching. The vote was 5-2 in favor. Patricia Hayes, my political opponent, the woman who'd been investigating me, voted yes. After the meeting, she approached me. Mayor Fletcher, she said, I voted for your project. I noticed. Thank you. I voted for it because it's a good project, and because integrity matters. You could have stayed silent. You could have won the election, but you chose to tell the truth instead. She extended her hand. I shook it. I'm going to win this election, she said, but I'll implement your development plan because it's the right thing for Bellevue. That's what you would have wanted. Yes, I said. That's what I would have wanted. She left. Emma squeezed my shoulder. You did it, Dad, she said. You lost the election, but you won something more important. 6 months later, my last day as mayor. The city council held a small ceremony, maybe 30 people in attendance, city employees, a few residents, Emma and Lily, Jacob, my mother sitting in the back row. I stood at the podium one last time. Thank you all for the privilege of serving Bellevue, I said. 10 years ago, I ran for office because I believed in public service, in integrity, in leading with honesty. I reached up and unpinned the campaign button from my jacket, the metal button, cool and heavy, that clicking sound when the pin released. I wore this button during my campaign. Fletcher family values, but I learned something over these past 6 months. Family values don't mean hiding dysfunction. They mean having the courage to face truth, to say the hard things, to choose integrity over image. I set the button on the podium. My granddaughter taught me that. Emma taught me that. My father taught me that, even though I didn't understand his lesson until it was almost too late. I pulled out a simple name tag, white plastic with black text. Mr. Fletcher, history teacher. I'm going back to teaching. Starting Monday, I'll be teaching American history at Bellevue High School, teaching teenagers about democracy, about leadership, about the difference between what looks good and what is good. I pinned the name tag on my jacket. I'm prouder of the mayor who told the truth than the mayor who could have kept the lie. Thank you, Bellevue. It's been an honor. The applause was warm, genuine. After the ceremony, Lily ran up to me. She was 5 now, taller, more confident. She held out a drawing, new crayons, bright colors, careful work. The drawing showed me with a cape, red and blue. On my chest, she'd drawn a shield with truth written in her careful letters. Above my head, truth, superhero, grandpa. The paper smelled like fresh crayons, that waxy Crayola scent. The colors were bold, not the tentative strokes of a 4-year-old, but the confident work of a 5-year-old who'd processed trauma and come out stronger. My teacher said superheroes tell truth even when it's scary, Lily said. You're my truth superhero, Grandpa. I want to be like you. I knelt down, hugged her, tears in my eyes again. Thank you, sweet pea. This is the best gift anyone's ever given me. Emma was crying. Jacob was smiling. My mother approached slowly, carefully. Daniel, she said, may I? She held out her arms. I hugged her. She held on tight. Thank you for being better than I was, she whispered. Better than your father and I were. Thank you for breaking the cycle. Daniel and Emma redefined what family means. Not who you're born to, but who shows up with truth. If you've built your own chosen family, the people who stayed when it mattered, tell me about them in the comments. And if this story moved you, if you believe integrity matters more than image, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe. I tell stories about choosing truth when it costs everything. I'll see you in the next one. Monday morning, my first day back at Bellevue High School. 25 years since I'd left teaching to run for city council. 25 years since I'd been Mr. Fletcher instead of Mayor Fletcher. I walked into my classroom, 28 students, teenagers, 16 and 17 years old. They knew who I was. Everyone in Bellevue knew my story by now. I stood at the front of the room, looked at them. Good morning, I'm Mr. Fletcher. I'm going to be teaching you American history this semester. Before we start, I want to tell you something. I held up Lily's drawing, the truth superhero picture. I'd framed it, brought it with me. My 5-year-old granddaughter drew this. She called me a truth superhero, not because I'm brave or special, but because I told the truth when it was hard, when it cost me everything I'd worked for. I set the drawing on my desk. We're going to study a lot of leaders this semester, presidents and senators and judges. Some of them were heroes, some of them were failures. The difference was never about talent or intelligence or ambition. The difference was whether they chose truth over image, whether they had integrity when no one was watching. A girl in the front row raised her hand. Mr. Fletcher, do you regret it? Giving up being mayor? And I thought about it, really thought about it. No, I said. I regret the mistakes that led to that moment. I regret ignoring problems in my marriage. I regret not seeing the signs earlier. But I don't regret telling the truth, because my granddaughter is watching. You're watching. And what I teach you about leadership matters more than whether I kept a title. I looked around the room, 28 faces, the next generation of Bellevue. Leadership isn't about the position you hold. It's about the person you are when the position is gone. It's about what you do when choosing the right thing means losing everything. On my desk, next to Lily's drawing, sat my father's pocket watch. I'd brought it with me. The loud tick-tock filled the quiet moments in the classroom, a reminder. Truth is the only protection that matters. I'd learned that lesson. Finally. At 55, after losing an election and a marriage and nearly losing my children, but I'd learned it, and now I was going to teach it. The bell rang. Students settled into their seats. I picked up a marker and turned to the whiteboard. "Let's begin," I said. The campaign button sat in a drawer at home now. 5,000 of them, distributed across Bellevue, most of them thrown away by now. Rachel's face smiling from everyone. A memory of what we'd been, what we'd pretended to be. But the truth was what remained. The truth and the people who'd stayed. Emma and Jacob and Lily, my mother, learning to apologize after 8 decades of protecting lies, and me, not a mayor anymore, just a teacher, just a grandfather, just a man who'd finally learned what his father tried to tell him 8 years too late. The kids are grown, my mother had said, meaning they don't matter anymore. But Emma had taught me different. Jacob had taught me different. Lily had taught me different. The kids are grown, which means they're old enough to deserve truth. Old enough to learn what integrity looks like when it costs everything. Old enough to understand that real family values mean choosing honesty over comfortable lies. I looked at Lily's drawing. Truth superhero grandpa. My 5-year-old granddaughter had understood something it took me 55 years to learn. Truth is the only superpower that matters. And teaching that truth to Lily, to Emma, to 28 high school students in a classroom in Bellevue, Oregon, that was worth more than any election I could have won. I smiled and began to teach.